morning, Sherry from Ohio. Welcome on Drive on the windy, overcast day here at Juma Private Game Reserve. Sherry would like to know what is the most valuable lesson I've learned in my time in the bush. I would say, Sherry, that's probably you must respect all animals. Never sort of get blasé or relaxed around them, because they don't have to do what the guidebooks and textbooks say they're going to do. They're wild animals. They can always do something completely different and completely out of character. So for me, it would definitely be to respect all animals and always be conscious that they are wild animals and that they might not do what they are supposed to do according to us. So after all, they can't read and write. Seems like the wind's getting stronger. It's actually probably a bit colder now than it was earlier this morning. But in the meantime, we're going to cut back to Scott, who's hopefully got something that's moving a little bit more than these lines. Over to Scott.
Welcome to a small troop of vervet monkeys. You can just see 4 at the moment, and the smallest and cutest of which is the one in shot now. It really is quite small considering the other babies around. It seems to possibly have been one of the later additions to the monkey population here in Juma. And that's perfect for us, because that's when they're the most playful, when they're young and carefree. And that there is the mother. Interesting, they all seem to be feeding the same way. We saw a troop, or 2 different troops actually yesterday. Oh, there's the baby joining her mum, or his mum. What exactly they're feeding on, whether it's the gum from the tree, sap from the tree, or small shoots growing off, potentially even insects, it's hard to tell. But it's not the leaves or the fruits of the tree. They tend to be biting off onto the main branches, biting something off the main branches. What you can also tell from this shot is that it continues to be a windy morning here, making for some interesting tree climbing for those little monkeys. But they are incredibly agile. Difficult with this angle, but they're biting off something off the main branch of the tree. It's not easy to tell exactly what it is. His mouth is full of it, whatever it may be. I think it is indeed that they're feeding on the sap from the tree. Oh, hello, boy. And you can actually see the little crystals on his lips now, the sugary crystals that he's trying to wipe off, it looks like. But obviously, it's something at this time of the year, it makes sense for them to gain minerals and nutrients from this sap that leaks from the trees. And I guess it's from continually biting the trees that then slowly leaks out the sap, and then they can return possibly hours later or a few days later and then feed on the tree. Well, there we go. Now we've got a great shot of it. There you can see her. She's broken off a piece of sap, and then she's got it in her mouth and she's chewing on it. It's see if she manages to get another one. It crystallizes and forms a very solid, candy-like substance, and that's what they're busy feeding on. Whether the monkeys mate in the trees or on ground and give birth in the trees or on the ground? It's a good question, and I think it depends on the individual scenario and circumstance. I've never seen a monkey give birth, so I cannot answer the question regarding where they do give birth, but I'm guessing it could be either in a tree or on the ground. If a tree is big enough with enough horizontal branches, I think she could comfortably give birth in the tree. But then again, you'd think that it might be a little bit easier on the ground. So hard to tell about that. In terms of mating, either or. They certainly are capable of mating in the trees, but could well mate on the ground if they are foraging on the ground. We've got a good option, Alex, if we... Where are we now? They're all jumping across that gap into the right-hand green tree. So if you zoom in on that gap where you kind of sense it on now, we might get them jumping across into the tree to the right, because they tend to be heading in that direction. And I've just seen one or two jump across that gap. Oh, here goes another one, Alex, if you go further to the right. There we go. Let's see if it's going to spring off into the next bush, or if it's just going to build up the courage there. There's another mother joining from below where this monkey's sitting with a young little baby heading up the same branch, so she should come into shot fairly certain, or fairly shortly rather. Troop now. I'm just going to reverse ever so slightly, so that we... like the mother's moving around, but sadly she's going down into some thicker vegetation. He's going to realise he's been stranded and scamper around fairly quickly before he gets left behind. There he's just double checking where everyone is. You can see him look down for a brief second. It's an enjoyable sighting, and there are such enjoyable animals to watch moving about.
When following lions and leopards and things like that, the most important tool in your arsenal is patience. Just have to wait, because if you're not with them, something might happen. Something can always happen. You know, in this window.